provide 24-hour cooling, and the efficiency was poor, and there were a lot of issues related to temperature precise control and the humidity. So IBM in 1965 forward this question when it was raised to the industry in air conditioning. Liebert organization actually came up with the answer, and they made one proto first in 1965. And this proto was published, and then the discussion went forward with IBM, and in 1970s or so, the precision AC concept was to the market altogether. So the concept was this: the basic difference in cooling human and cooling machines. These are all together different applications, different thoughts, different equipments involved here. So if you see here in the left side of the screen, you can see human being. So the humans require different type of comfort compared to the electronics on the right side. You can see require a different type of comfort. So here the difference between these two is not just the temperature variance or the temperature point, but the point is that the human being work only for the limited hours, but the equipments are supposed to run 24 hours, 365 days. So it creates a lot of difference between these two applications. And then the relative humidity for the human being is different, and for equipment it is different. This is just one range here. This does not obviously fit to all the equipments, to all the applications. This is just to give you idea about that how these two are different applications altogether. And here this gives you a little idea of the application differences. Then this will also give you idea about that comfort air conditioning is something like which is actually designed to fit shopping malls, residential areas, airports, hotels, and obviously the other residential zones. The reason for this is because the design of the air conditioning system, when you design the operator coil or the fans and the sensibility ratio, the airflow, and the overall design of the unit to fit to that application is different, and it's designed for the comfort. And in precision AC, which is more towards the right side of the section, you can see here, is all involved about the basic things here remains is electronics and electricals, and the application which runs for 24 hours, and temperature and humidity which require precise control. So all these applications which are mentioned on the right side are revolved around these 4-5 points, which comes from the electronics and electrical which are present in that room. Temperature control, in some of the application, electronics may be less, but then the temperature humidity plays a major role there, because the application to application it's again changing, and 24-hour application. So this gives you idea about how these two are different. And then we move forward now in understanding that how this each of the design, the comfort, what is the basic concept behind this, what is the concept behind precision AC, which makes it different in terms of the design. So the all HPAC system, when I say HPAC, is actually high performing precision air conditioning systems. They are also known as the closed control cooling systems. They all are actually designed around the high sensibility ratio. So cooling electronics, that is the basic fundamental here. So when we say cooling electronics means how it make difference is because of the sensible heat ratio, the design of the cooling coil and the airflow, and the temperature and humidity control. The design of the cooling system, because these all the applications demands 24-hour, 365 days operation. So you cannot switch off the air conditioning system when you go home, because your control room, your data center, your server rooms, your hub rooms, or your other applications which are supporting the 24-hour applications are basically supposed to run continuously. They are not. You are not supposed to switch off them like unlike like when you are at home or in office. When you go out, you switch off your air conditioner. So it is completely reverse to that. It is supposed to run 24 hours, not 8 to 10 hours. And these are all complete pre-packaged kind of system. Why? Because these applications, which demands special type of, I would say, the high-end kind of uptime, the criticality built in the systems, and all components are actually built in one enclosure. You can see on the right side top, the unit which is actually having, this is just a picture of a DX unit, which has got all the systems like, the evaporator coil, compressor, heater, humidifier, dehumidification cycle, fan, controller, everything built in inside this cabinet. And this cabinet, this which you can see on the right side top where my cursor is, and then this is a DX type unit. It will be connected to a condenser outside. So based on the capacities, these systems are available in the industry, different capacities. So this comes as a complete system, standalone system, which is ruled by I would say the smart controller, which integrates all these components together to deliver the best uptime and efficiency. Then on the bottom side, on the left, you can see comfort air conditioners are complete. If you see on the application part, they are just reverse actually. They are just designed for 8-10 hours, not 24 hours, and designed for human cooling, where the latent load is also present along with the sensible load. So for example, you may say that in an office where you have actually 60 to 70% sensible cooling, and then balance your 30 to 40% load is actually going to the latent. So these systems are designed for lower sensibility ratio, and then the CFM per TR is also lower on this. So CFM per TR typically may vary between 3 to 350 or maximum to 400. So this is how the range goes there. So this is the basic concept difference between the design difference between these two product, these two applications, these two concepts. So moving forward, we can compare them in more details to give you a better picture of how these are compared at every component level. Sensibility ratio for precision air conditioning, you can see on the right side here that a comfort air conditioner around 60 to 70% on the sensible and balance on the latent, and the precision AC HVAC system, high performing precision air conditioning unit, is 95 to 100% sensible cooling. And when you have electronics or electrical involved in your server room or a control room or VFD room or any of such rooms, actually it is only the equipments which are present there. When you do load calculation, you are actually supposed to get 100% sensible cooling. Okay, sometime maybe some people are sitting there, like in control room, you may have few people sitting there, and the outside air which is entering there as a fresh air or ingredients coming from outside. So when you add this put together and when you do load calculation, you will typically find that sensibility ratio for all these kind of applications are more than 0.9 actually, or 0.95. In fact, sometimes it goes close to 0.98 or even 1. So which means that the air conditioning system which you have to deploy in such kind of application should be designed for high sensible cooling. So this is very important to understand. Suppose if it is not designed for high sensible cooling, what happens there? Then your comfort air conditioner, which is designed for the only 60 to 70% of sensible cooling, imagine that you need to install a 10 TR capacity there. 10 TR is your load for your control room, which is having, let's say, 0.95 sensibility ratio. Sensibility ratio is actually I think most of you are from air conditioning background, so you know sensible to total capacity. So here the sensible load is suppose 0.95 or 95% cooling is required, sensible cooling. So what will happen if it is a 10 TR load? If you have to install comfort air conditioner to meet 10 TR sensible load, you will have to oversize it by 30 to 40%, because that is the gap from 70% to 100%. So you need to cool the 10 TR sensible load, you will have to oversize it 30 to 40%, which means you will end up installing around 14 to 15 TR, around 14 TR kind of capacity to meet. This is just a sensible to meet the sensible capacity requirement. And if you go for the precision air conditioning system for the same requirement, you will obviously choose a machine around that 0.95 to 1 sensibility ratio, and you will just match the requirement. So you will not overcool it. And obviously, we will learn in the next slides how it makes difference when you install more comfort capacity or the less capacities, how it impacts the power consumption, how it impacts the temperature and humidity in the room. So in this slide, the message to you is that it is very important to understand the heat load calculation, the sensibility ratio, and based on that, we have to select the unit. And when we move forward, obviously the precision temperature and the humidity control. Most of these applications, whether these are control rooms or these are textile labs or these are even the server rooms or the data center or the hub rooms or telco rooms or switch rooms, most of these applications actually demands for precise control on temperature and humidity. Although the control could vary from on temperature from plus minus 1 or even for plus minus 0.5 to even to plus minus 2 or plus minus 3 also in some level, but most of the cases it goes around 0.5 to plus minus 1 or plus minus 2 maximum on the temperature side. And on the humidity side, it goes from plus minus 3% to plus minus 5, and in very few cases plus minus 10%. So this is really important to know that why temperature and humidity control is important. You imagine that your humidity is more in any of the application. Imagine let's take example of a computer room or a server room. So in server room, if your humidity is high, what happens there? There actually you will end up having condensation issues. So same issue will happen whether it's a VFD room or control room. So having more humidity, you will end up having condensation there. You will end up, and another biggest issue is that if your filtration is not good in the room, we see in many places in industrial application where there are PCBs failure or the such kind of critical components failure, just because over a period of time that component is having a layer of a layer of a dust which has accumulated over a period of time because of low filtration, because of the humidity control was not good. So this layer has actually restricted the heat dissipation from that component. So this component is although installed in an air conditioning environment, but is not able to dissipate the heat. So what happens? It gets heated up and then it is failing. And most of the time, what we know, probably the electricity was not good or the power quality was not good. But you never realize that there is a problem of your air conditioning also which is working there. Even if you see in your home itself, when you open your computer from backside or even your TV after a long time, you will see a lot of dust accumulating. But we never see that with your eyes, flowing around the room. That is because the particle size of this dust are very small. So this if you go to the precision AC kind of concept where the filtration is up to 95% down to 5 micron, and in comfort air conditioning the filtration could be around 80% efficiency and 20 microns. So there is a difference on the approach of the design of these two air conditioning systems altogether. And imagine that you have a lower humidity in the room. So what happens in the lower humidity case? When your humidity is low, you are going to end up having problem of electrostatic failures. So we most of the time see that air become highly dry in low humidity. So when the air is dry, actually, and the component is continuously operating, and there is a chance of electrostatic issues. So in many places we see these kind of problems. That's why the range of lower and higher humidity is defined for all critical environments. Whether it's again I'm repeating, because I understand in eastern part of India it's mostly the big data centers are I would say less number of big data centers are there. But most of the critical application are towards the industrial side, which goes into like control room, VFD rooms, and although there are some server rooms, switch rooms also present. So all these are also critical environments, and we must protect critical components from these kind of issues. And on the temperature rise, on the temperature side, obviously, high temperature will lead into the component failures due to the high temperature. So there can be also the issues related to the when it goes to a lower temperature to fatigue kind of problem in the component. So we must ensure that the precise temperature and humidity is maintained in the critical environments. And these points differentiate precision AC from the comfort AC. When we move forward, this is another important point comes to the air quality and quantity. So we were talking about the quality also. We touched a little bit in the previous slide that why the filtration level is important. But the CFM is also important in the cooling electronics or machines. You need to remove the heat faster. You imagine that you have more number of people in one room. Let's say you have 1,000 square feet area and you have a couple of people sitting there. The load density, the distribution of the load is not really high. The human body is dissipating heat, but it is much lower compared to a rack of having let's say even 4 kilowatt or 5 kilowatt in a 600 to 1200 frame size. So imagine, the density of 5 kilowatt versus a few watts. So it's a big difference from the square feet to the watts ratio when you go to the human cooling to the equipment's cooling. So this is again an important point to note, that when there is a more watts per square feet increasing, it's impossible almost to cool with just the comfort air conditioners, because they are obviously not designed for to handle this kind of heat transfer. So the CFM per TR in precision AC move from 500 to 600. Even in some cases it goes up to 650 also, and obviously then it depends on what type of application it is. There are some application which demands even slightly lower CFM per TR requirements, because the equipments are having a higher delta T also. So when you have higher delta T, CFM per kilowatt slightly comes down, but then your return air temperature to the cooling unit goes up. So these are also important points to note. Now, this helps you to transfer the heat faster when you have more CFM per TR, transfer the heat faster, and at the same time, it automatically also keep the equipment clean. Other than the effect of the filtration which you achieve because of the high filtration in the precision air conditioning system. In the comfort ACs, you see that it is a 300 to 400 or typically 300 to 350 CFM per TR, and there is a huge difference from 300 to 600 CFM per TR. So imagine on 1 TR, this is the difference. If you have to install 10 TR capacity, you land up having a very less capacity, or very less sensible capacity, and very less CFM per TR compared to precision AC equipments. So which means that again, the same way which we did in the sensible cooling for 10 TR, when you have to meet the 10 TR requirement of sensible cooling, you have to install much higher capacity of comfort system. Here also, when you have to match the airflow per TR or airflow requirement for high sensible cooling requirements, you have to actually install more number of or more capacity of comfort air conditioning system. Obviously, when you install more, it is going to consume more. It's understood there. So these are the important points to note here. Now on the operating hours, this is very important aspect, other than the 3 points which majorly we touched before. The operating hours makes difference, because all the comfort air conditioning system, you see the design point of it. You talk from the cabinet construction, the components used, right from compressor to the expansion valve. The comfort air conditioner may come with capillary tube, and then then it comes to the electronics, which what kind of electrical electronics makes are used in the units. You see the control scheme, see the controller, and see each and every component which is used in precision air conditioning system are basically designed to operate 8760 hours and deliver the life of more than 10 to 12 years. So this is the kind of a life expectancy which is there from the precision air conditioning system compared to the comfort, which is basically designed. But most of the time we see the plastic kind of a material or composite kind of a material used there, and then we also see that actually there is the components selected. We see a lot of even the normal fans used there compared to precision AC, where there are only few selected suppliers and the global best suppliers are used for the components which are selected for the precision air conditioning system. So it makes a lot of difference at every component level, which makes it work for the 8760 hours continuously. And this also ensures that the redundancy level is provided here, because the precision ACs are actually having high lifespan and better I would say the MTBF and the MTTR and the if you see the each and every component failure hours are compared to the comfort, it is much lower. The system approach, when you go to the integrated side, another basic difference comes from the approach, how these systems are running. Basically this makes a lot of difference when you have more number of units installed in the room. So when you have more number of units installed, this makes a lot of difference. But at the every component level also, even if it's a one-to-one system, if you see the evaporator coil and the unit which actually along with the compressor and the condenser, the entire system is running through an integrated control. And obviously, as I have already discussed in the previous slide, that oversized evaporator coil, high CFM AC fans are delivering better sensible heat ratio, better energy efficiency ratios, and built-in heater humidifier, built-in dehumidification cycle. Unlike in comfort where you put reheater and then reheater is coming in action when there is a humidity control required. Reheater obviously will cool extra and then will heat up the air and will consume power on the heater side. So on the unlike in precision AC, it has got its own control, intelligent control logic. So imagine one scenario that this control logic will check what is the temperature and what is the room humidity, because all the dehumidification, humidification, heating, everything is built in the component in the unit. So overall, based on the complete demand of the room, it decides which component to run. So it may happen that you will see that the RH level is actually lower, but at the same time different temperature levels. So unit will decide that it may not have to run actually the humidification to raise the humidity level, even with just through the control of the unit side, it will be able to achieve this level of humidification. Same is available, same kind of thing is applicable for the dehumidification also. So actually this avoids the overheating and overcooling, and also the over dehumidification and humidification. So this is on the operation level savings which are achieved other than the first when we compare the both system like to like. So this analysis is done here to show you whatever we discussed in a few slides before, how this on the paper, when you compare these both the technologies, how these are compared, and how much savings it delivers precision AC when it is compared with the like-to-like comfort air conditioning system. So we have taken example of here 10TR. So this 10TR example is is actually here for the sensible cooling requirement. So you can see here 0.95 sensible heat ratio for precision AC and 0.7 sensible heat ratio for conventional. Although in most of the conventional you may find this around 0.65. So this is a fair comparison here. And on the kilowatt per TR, it is a 1.3 and 1.5 for comfort. But okay, this may little change in comfort or precision as well, because in precision and comfort there are a lot of new technologies which has come up now in both sides actually. So this may come down slightly on both sides, but the difference will still remain there because of the kind of components used in precision AC. So this is a cost analysis and the operating cost analysis. Operating cost analysis is done for the sensible cooling required for 10TR, and the humidification and the dehumidification cost for these two. So the operating cost analysis, you can see here that for 24 bar 365 days operation, if 1 TR, this is per kilowatt consumption, 1.3 for precision AC, and 10 rupees is the kilowatt per consumption charges actually. So 10 rupees is the one charge per unit, 8760, and it becomes this is the cost coming. And then when you see for the comfort, same way, likewise 1.5 and 10 and 8760, it comes to 131,400. So this is the difference here. And then when you see on the SHR for the conventional unit, due to 0.7, actually this consumes on, this is the cost involved for the capacity, and this is the cost involved here, and the difference is this is the difference involved. So for 9.5 TR sensible cooling, if you multiply this by 9.5, this is the figure coming to. So this is coming because of the sensible cooling difference, because the sensible cooling ratio for conventional is a 0.7 here, which is considered. Now the another component which was there was humidification effect. How this humidification effect will come, as we discussed in the previous slide, that the comfort air conditioning system has 0.7 sensible cooling and 0.3 is the latent cooling. This 30% of latent cooling, 0.3, is actually going in if you compare to 10 TR, out of 10 TR, 7 TR is sensible and 2.6 is latent. This 2.6, when you multiply in kilowatt, comes to 9.15. So this is the latent cooling capacity removed from the room by conventional units by overcooling because of the latent cooling capacity delivered. Although this latent cooling capacity was not available in the room because that was a sensible cooling requirement. So what does it mean? It means that you are unnecessarily actually throwing the latent capacity from the room, and then the room will become much dry. So which means that you must actually add the humidification in the room. So even if you assume, I mean, we have not assumed the whole year, we have assumed just for the comparison purpose only for the 2 months. During summer 60 days, 24 hours, so these many hours only around the year. So if you take these many hours and 9.15 kilowatt consumption and 10 rupees again per unit, this is the cost which is going in humidification. Another important point which you have to note here is that in comfort air conditioner, humidification is not built in the system, in conventional or even in packaged conventional systems. It is not built in. So it's a separately installed one humidification or a heater. So this separate humidification system will work independently, does not know what is happening in the room other than the RH which it is trying to control. So your conventional unit is working independently. Its compressor is trying to, it can also happen that you are trying to cool and here you are humidifying, and also you are dehumidifying and humidifying. So this is happening because the conventional system works independently, and humidification, dehumidification, and heating cycles are not integrated part of the conventional system. And this is addition to whatever numbers here are mentioned actually. So these numbers here are mentioned only for the 2 months. So in 2 months, this is the latent capacity impact which is coming to the humidification. Now here the cost of reheating, you can see this is also, again, we have considered only for the 2 months, but only 50% of the time the heater is working in monsoon. This impact can also come when your system was cooling and dehumidifying, and then heater does not understand. Heater is just trying to know that only temperature has gone down, and it is trying to actually just to adjust the heat of the air. So when your systems are working independently, it doesn't know what's happening with the other component. But unlike in precision AC, where your all the components are integrated and your systems only allow the component which is required as per the room cooling requirement, or humidification or dehumidification requirement, or heating requirement. So this is the, if you see here, 60 into 24 into 0.5, 0.5 only 50% of the time we have considered heating here for 2 months, and 6 into 6 kilowatt of heater, and 10 rupees is the again unit rate here. So 43,200 is the, again, which you are losing on the heating because of the reheating. So when you see here the capital cost for 1 unit, which is roughly about, this is just one example here, 5,50,000, and for the conventional is 3,40,000. This 3,40,000 is not just the cost of the package unit. This is also cost of actually the your humidifier, the dehumidifier, and the reheaters which are required, and the control system, the control panel, the electrical panel, which is all these components to work together. In case of precision AC, electrical panel, your compressors, humidification, dehumidification, fans, coil, everything is built in part of the system, so there is no additional cost to it. So this is obviously the initial cost for the precision AC is higher compared to comfort, because of the fact that each component which is installed in the precision AC is designed for different life, for the different hours to operate, and the different efficiency levels which are much better compared to the comfort system. So its initial cost is obviously high. So when you add the operational cost, comparing this system which we discussed in last slides, this is the cost which was coming because of the sensible cooling impact, because of the humidification, and because of the dehumidification, because of the reheating. So 4,12,000 is lost because of the comfort extra on these 3 components, and this is the saving in precision AC. So when you add this together as a saving in precision AC, you can see on the right side that your ROI is actually your payback is less than 8 months. So overall, it makes much more sense to go for precision air conditioning kind of a system for all the applications wherever there are electronics or electrical involved in the room. This room could be of any type. It may be of any application. It may be signaling room also, maybe electrical room, maybe panel room, maybe control room, or VFD, or anything else, or maybe a server room, a data center, obviously. So in all these applications, it makes much more sense to go for these kind of a component. And the another important aspect which we have not added here in the comparison is this lifespan of the unit. The precision AC life is a 10 to 12 years typically, although we see in the industry for there are many units which are running for about 15 years or even 13, 14 years, some machines running around that. So imagine your comfort air conditioning system, if it will work for 24 hours, 365 days for 3 years, what happens? If you go in application which are running 24 hours and you see the situation of a package unit, its cabinet doors are also coming out, electrical panel, everything, and all components are failing frequently. So there are a lot of failures happening actually, and over a period of 3 to 4 years, you have to change the comfort AC. So imagine in 10 years, you have to change at least 3 times. So imagine the cost involved over a period of the if you work out on the life cycle cost, it is much higher for the conventional AC systems. So this was the difference. With this slide, we summarize how precision AC and how comfort ACs are different, not just on the component, on the deliverables. This is how the difference is. And now coming to the applications. Typically in the market, when we talk to some of the people, they always say, "Oh, precision AC means data center." No, it's not just a computer room. It is much beyond that. It is any room. I mean, any room where you have more of electronics, electricals, and it is machines involved, and not human beings. Human being maybe hardly few people sitting there. So any of such application demands different cooling. So it is a different application altogether, and it is not the application itself is different. So I would say if you install comfort air conditioner for such kind of application, then it's a wrong application. So it's the mistake on the design itself. So these are some of the these applications. We'll go a little bit in details that how these applications are different, and to study them more in terms of temperature and humidity requirements. So in control rooms and CNC rooms, in CMM, these kind of rooms, if you see, the temperature requirement typically is a little bit wider range, like maybe 22 to 24, the plus minus 2 kind of a temperature, or plus minus 1. But it is not just the temperature, as I said. It is not just the impact of the failure of the component. Obviously, these matters, as we discussed in the previous slides. But addition to this, the cost of the power, the cost of the life cycle, the cost of the overall downtime, the many costs involved makes the precision AC system, the first choice for all the application. And you can see that some of the application may demand a kind of a floor mount ductable kind of a precision AC, which can be installed in a plant room, and you can take the supplier from the duct, or also these units can be also installed on the floor stand and then discharge the cold air from the front if it's a smaller control room where the units can be installed in the same room, and it's easy to have a return in the supply pattern. So this will depend on site to site. So most of the site in control rooms will be obviously with the ductable system because of the industrial complexity in terms of the layout and the overall building structure and many other things. And obviously the false floor, access floor is not available in most of these applications. So ductable system would be preferred, but at the same time, to have more power savings, it is good to have variable capacity control on the compressors, like digital store kind of thing, or a water compressor kind of thing, because that will actually ensure that your power consumption at the part is lower. Your power load is obviously we know that the systems are not operation time all around the year, and also it is ambient air is not always at peak. So this impact put together and the load inside the room, which is designed for certain capacity, is always not 100%. So and occupancy and the load which is stagnant manner. So put this together, the load inside the room become variable. So it's very important that the cooling system, if we are able to go for variable capacity, although the initial cost may be a little higher, but the overall operational cost is always lower. In the textile lab, different application precision AC where there are quite close control on the temperature. Some people even ask for up to 0.5, but most are acceptable at ±1 degree, 20 ±1, and 65 ±2 or ±3, because they go for certification also here. So due to all these regions, these labs obviously when they have to go for certifications, they actually need to maintain these conditions so that they are able to measure the strength of the fabrics and the color fastness, dimension stability, and appearance, and many other things. So they must have this kind of close control in the room. So distribution of air is also very important in this kind of application, because you cannot pump more air at certain place and pump less air at other place. So it is very important to have a proper air circulation from the supply and return point of view. So and at the same time, if you are able to have better control on the compressor, on the fan, and on the heater also, the reheating, especially here, there are different type of cooling units designed for this kind of application, because here the sensible load is not 100%, it is lower. So the cooling systems must be carefully designed that it should have a built-in provision to have a reheating also when the load is because the load is lower most of the time there. And there are other applications like TEM, SEM labs where there are different testing done, and these testings are also very important. Again, the tolerance is very low here, 0.5 to 1, and mostly they ask for 0.5 to 0.8. So this is also very important here. And these kind of all application, because actually the electronics load is not so high, but these application demands close temperature and humidity control, and many of these demands 24-hour application. So the comfort air conditioner cannot meet these kind of requirements. So precision AC is only the choice for these kind of applications. Many other applications like RQ lab and the LCMS, chocolate lab, chocolate processing, and the packaging areas. These all the applications demand close to 21 to 23 degree centigrade temperature and 50 ±5. Here, this is also important to note. Imagine that you are in a chocolate processing factory and your RS level is 65 or 70%. What is going to happen there? Imagine the humidity level which will be there in the air, and imagine if it becomes very highly dry, and then there is also a problem. So it's highly important that, and same is applicable when you are in a, let's say, art library or art gallery, and there are lot of costly arts kept in a room, and this is very important to maintain. Your RH should be within the tolerance which are required for the life of these kind of important documents. And then imagine here LCMS, which is actually a very, this is commonly used instrument in a drug processing, drug approval actually. So here this is required to measure the protein levels and many other aspects in the medicines. So this is very important important machine. So this all together, all these application demands special control on the temperature and humidity. So this obviously is not able to meet by comfort. VFD and panel rooms, control rooms, most of you may be very much familiar with. So here this is again there is an electrical load and less of a human occupancy in all of these rooms, and so it's very important that you maintain here also good filtration level, again to avoid PCBs failure or this kind of electrical failures. Even we earlier used to hear that VFD doesn't really require precision cooling kind of thing, but we have seen in industry, our experience says that if you are able to use precision AC, your life of the VFD panels will be much higher. Your overall control room will work more smoothly. Your downtime will be much lower. So the cost of the downtime, the cost of the equipments, the life put together obviously makes a precision AC as a choice for VFD rooms. And many application people use ventilation for panel rooms, but we suggest, we recommend that it is good to have a precision AC kind of a system and because you are able to anyway achieve your ROI less than a year, so it's a wise decision to go for these kind of systems. And here you can actually have VFD panels and drives like this, and your cooling units are placed on opposite side or in one side based on the length of the drives, the dimension, the load of the room, and the overall layout. You can have various different type of cooling units. This is just assumed here the front discharge of the cold supply to the VFD drives, and the return coming from the side or from the top through the false ceiling. This unit can be also with the ductable system. Suppose if you have a plant room here separately and you want to have a ductable system, so these kind of systems can be also deployed. The overall objective here is that, similar to the other application, this is also a very important application, and most of the applications are 24-hour application, and the sensible heat ratio and the airflow requirement and filtration requirement is matching to precision AC, not a comfort air conditioning system. So this is also precision AC application. I'm coming now to the data center side. So on the data center side, I think most of you are already familiar that these precision AC systems are used in data center, and this is just one layout which is also recommended by ASHRAE. So this is one layout how the cooling units should be positioned. These are the cooling units. These are the cooling units. This one, this one and this one, and these are the racks, row of the racks. These are the racks, and inside these racks there are servers. These racks will have servers. These racks height could be, there are different height of racks. Could be 36U, could be 42U, could be 48, 52, 54. Typically, these are 42U racks, and this sucks from one side, typically from the front side of the suction, and the rear side of the rack will have hot air discharge after exchanging the heat with the servers. So this hot air is supposed to go back to the cooling units, and cooling units discharging cold air under the floor. This you can see is a access floor here, raised floor of a different height depending on what is the size of the data center and the kilowatts of the racks. Overall air being pumped under the floor. Based on this, your size of the raised floor is done. So here you can see the supplier bills. So these cooling units are pumping cold air under the floor. So this acts like a plenum, like you have a inducted system, which most of you are very familiar with. You have plenum there. So you can say this is virtually plenum here, and you have got supplier bills where cold air is coming out and going inside the racks, and then it is exchanging heat going back to the cooling units. And these cooling units, why these are positioned in the hot aisles front? Because this is the lowest path for the hot air to go back, and it reduces the loss on the fan, and at the same time it also avoids the hot spots in the room. So this gives a good circulation of hot and the cold air supply. So this is very important to understand. So where the cold air comes out, this is known as the cold aisles. Where the hot air goes out from the servers, this is called the hot aisles. And obviously there could be different type of servers and switches designed. Sometimes the servers will maybe discharging the hot air from the top, and there are some switches discharging even from the sides, but we should try to use these kind of systems actually. So what happens when we use top discharge units in such applications where your equipments are actually sucking cold air from the bottom or from the bottom front? So what happens? This is suppose your equipment which you want to cool, and it is sucking the cold air from the bottom front or from the bottom. Imagine this your cooling unit, and you are discharging cold air from the top through a duct or through a direct plenum or whatever way. So and the suction return is from the bottom front for the cooling unit. So what is happening is actually you are throwing cold air from the top here like this, and you are sucking the hot air like this. So there is a mixing happening here. So this is very important because the cold air having higher density come down, and then here if you see the hot air is actually supposed to go up, but because here there is a lot of suction created, negative suction created here, pressure, because of this the hot air is coming down and going through here. So there is a mixing happening. You lose the effect of hot air, so you lose actually the hot air temperature. So you are supplying low cold air, but because of the mixing, your hot air temperature to the cooling unit comes down. When the return air temperature comes down, the capacity of the cooling unit also comes down. At the same time, kilowatt per TR also comes down. also increases because the capacity has come down and it consumes almost the same power there, little bit difference. So kilowatt per ton goes up here. Imagine another scenario where you had a cooling unit here discharging cold air from the bottom. This is just a front example here, and it is sucking here, and it is following the natural airflow pattern here. Imagine you had a false floor here, raised floor. So the cold air comes under the raised floor, goes to the equipment, and then exchanges the heat and comes back from the rear side or from the top side, and then it is exchanging the heat, and this cycle is continuous. So this is very important to understand that many of the applications, although the equipments are having provision for bottom front suction or bottom suction, but still the air conditioning system uses ductable type. So we must first study the application, what kind of equipment is being installed in the control room or in the VFD. So in many of the VFD has got bottom front, actually the suction area, and then it is able to suck the hot air from there. So it is very important that in many of the control rooms also you can follow the false floor approach, and in some cases you may not be able to. But wherever it is possible, we should try to go for false floor, raised floor kind of a cooling approach for these kind of application to follow the natural airflow pattern. And you actually here save a lot of power on the blower also, because your blower works on the lower static pressure, and at the same time your cooling efficiency of the cooling unit goes up because you get better delta across the coil and capacity goes up. Here, these are some of the airflow pattern, how the cooling units and what kind of cooling units are available in precision air conditioning. So precision air, these are mostly used. There are many different types also available. These are the mostly used pattern, where this is the cooling unit. These are the racks of the server racks, and this is the access floor. You can see the pedestals here. The unit is having fan below the unit. Here is throwing cold air under the floor, and then as you saw in the previous slide, cold air comes out in the front of the racks, and then it goes inside the racks, and the hot air comes back to the units from the top side here. Okay, this is the bottom throw. This is called bottom discharge type of cooling units, which are typically used in most of the data center application. And then here this is actually front discharge cold air from the front side of the unit. It is here you can see that there are grills and the fans, so that you can say that maybe a same unit lift up above the floor, or there are units available in the market which are having factory built-in provision completely here in front of the unit, which can discharge the cold air from the bottom front. And in such case, you do not require access floor or raised floor. You can just throw the cold air in front of the servers or from in front of the VFD panels or in the room, and then in the panel room or control room, and it actually extends the heat and the hot air comes back on the top. So this can be also followed in a layout where this is feasible from the airflow pattern point of view. So this is important to study the layout before going for this kind of solution. We must avoid the hot air and cold air mixing. So remember one thing in mind, that higher the return air temperature, better will be the performance of the cooling unit there. So this is also important to know, that you should not lose the cold air which is going to the equipment. You should not actually throw cold air unnecessarily other than the specified area where you want to cool. There are another approach which is ductable, which you may be familiar with here. Hot air comes from the front, and then there is a duct on the top. The duct is here. The duct is not shown, just a discharge. Duct can be connected, and then the duct can be routed in the cold aisles, and then there will be grills, diffusers to throw the cold air and the return air to come back to the cooling units. Or in the plant room, if it is in the plant room. If it is in the front, in the room, same room, then it can take return air from the front itself. So these are the mostly used layouts, the airflow patterns actually. There are units which sucks the hot air from the back side. There are units of different type of pattern actually available. Now, we will also learn little bit more on the data center precision AC. So this is just typical example of a server here to give you little idea of that, or a switch you can say, which is taking front supply and the rear discharge. So the front supply and the rear discharge. This is the fan which is sucking the cold air. So it is very important that whatever technology you use, Imagine that someone says that I will install comfort AC. What happens? I will install more capacity. No matter. Obviously, you can install it. Okay, no issue. But what you will achieve? You will end up consuming what we discussed in the previous slide. You will consume so much of power to deliver just a required sensible capacity. You will have to replace those units so many times. That span of those units.
আমি ওটাই বলছি, আগের দিন পুরো গয়লা গেছে, তার থেকে ঠিকই আছে, খাওয়া যাবে এটা। আগে না বলে
I'm sorry, Mr. Raghuveer, you can just unmute yourself.
CFM required and just throw in the room. It is important that what is the temperature you have to maintain in front of the application room or application equipment here, and this temperature which you want to maintain, what is the air quantity you need to deliver there, how effectively, how efficiently you are able to deliver this air quantity in front of the server or a switch or a VFD panel or you know, in any other equipment. That will define the overall distribution, overall efficiency of your cooling system. And then how efficiently you are able to bring back the hot air to the cooling equipment will overall decide the efficiency. Now, this is in the data center space, or even in any load calculation, you have to match the overall load to the cooling capacity required, and then obviously the room capacity and those things to be added, the fan loss and those things. Then suppose if you are not able to meet the required flow rate, what happens? You can see here, this is the left side. Left side is a picture of a data center where there is this thermal picture. On the right side, you can see a CFD picture where a cold air is entering from the raised floor in the rack, and then through the rack, after exchanging the heat, it is coming out. But what is happening is only the lower portion of the area, the cold air is sufficient, but it's not reaching up to the top. Why? Maybe because the sufficient air is not coming out, or because there is a lot of loss of cold air happening from the bottom portion. So in any case, either of the case, there is a hot spots coming on the top. So we must ensure that up to the top of the rack, we are able to have uniform airflow pattern. And for that, we may have to put blanking plates in the rack or in the switch rack, and then avoid the cold air loss there, and then have actually the proper airflow pattern and ensure that there are sufficient air coming in front of the rack with the right amount of CFM. There is a proper static pressure maintained under the floor, or have sensors in front of the racks to have measurement, and then allow these measurement sensors to actually allow the cooling unit fans to increase or decrease the fan speed. So this is very important to have. So what is happening in precision AC field? What kind of evolution is happening in data center, and why this kind of you know, the change happening in the precision AC? So till now, I'm just, whatever we learned in the previous slide, I'm just summarizing to you. We learn about why precision AC was discovered, because there were a lot of challenges faced in the comfort air conditioning, packaged air conditioning used for the critical applications like data center, VFD, electrical and control rooms kind of thing. And because there were so many problems faced, and because of these kind of problem, the precision AC kind of innovation happened. And then we learned what is the difference between precision to the comfort, and due to these kind of differences, the precision AC becomes a much more choice for all these applications which we discussed previously. Now, what kind of changes are happening in precision AC, and why? Why those changes are happening? Are precision AC same what used to be 10 years back, or 15 years back, or 20 years back, or there are a lot of innovation happening? What kind of changes are happening there? So this we will touch in these few slides now. I think we have only 10 minutes left for the my presentation to go. So, and then we will have
we have time. Please continue, not a problem.
Okay.
We have enough time till 9 o'clock.
Okay, good, perfect. So very good. Okay, so then we can go in details. So okay, so this is just, you know, before 2005 or 6, what kind of a approach was used in data center for precision air conditioning equipments. So if you see around that time, mostly the precision AC units were considered to be the industries which were familiar with the precision AC approach, especially outside India, outside the Europe or the US market, which were familiar with this kind of approach. Even in India also, some of the market has approach, like especially large data center or large switch rooms in telecom. But many of the application in India during this time were not using precision AC, actually were using comfort air conditioners for control rooms, VFD rooms, and in fact many of the applications which we discussed the previous slides. So that was one of the challenges. Another challenge was that even on the control part of the precision AC which were used, those were used from the return air control. I mean, when you have a server room and your cooling units which are installed in the plant room, those units were controlled from the return air temperature. So supplier used to be much lower, around maybe 10 degree, 12 degrees centigrade, and return air used to be around 22 to 24 degrees centigrade. And the user who used to always maintain these machines at 22 was concerned for the unit temperature, not the temperature in front of the VFD or in front of the server or in front of the panels, in front of the control room equipments, or in terms of the application. They were more concerned about the return air temperature in the cooling unit. But if you see, really that was not the concern. And at the same time, if you see chilled water system, 712 kind of water was used in data center, and maximum to maximum outside India we used to hear some application maybe around 10 to 15, and RH and temperature used to be around this range. So this was the kind of a control which people used to have on the return air. And then later part of it, 2008-9, the industry started understanding that actually it is not just to have a that install the air conditioner and it is able to maintain the temperature. The energy efficiency is also playing a major role. The green data center initiatives, the green data center approach which started coming during that time, lot of people in the industry started talking about green. So the variable capacity compressors on the DX and in the chilled water, raising the temperature from the 712 to 12, 18, 15, 20 kind of temperature were started using in 2008 to 2009, 10 during that time. And the control on the BMS side started also becoming one of the concern, that the cooling units should be also controlled. So the control also became an important point there, that we must monitor and we must actually maintain these units periodically to ensure that the uptime is really high. So downtime cost, industry started understanding the cost of downtime. So they started focusing more and more on the reliable and more on uptime, efficiency, and all these points of the design. Then why this approach was coming? Actually, there was again one of the thing which was going on from ASHRAE. In 2004, ASHRAE had actually released the recommended envelope, which was actually 20 to 25 degrees centigrade in front of the server's inlet temperature. And then it was actually in 2011 when ASHRAE changed it 18 to 27 degrees centigrade. So when this was changed 18 to 27, this was again a revolution in the industry. Those who are familiar with this data center industry, they know how much difference it makes when you have to raise the temperature by 1 degree centigrade in front of the server. When you raise a temperature even by 1 degree centigrade, you are able to achieve 2.5 to 3%. Roughly, this is the saving difference, the efficiency difference. Imagine you raise the temperature of a chiller from 712 to 2027, which is a trend right now going on, or 18 to 25 kind of a temperature in the chiller. What is the kind of a saving which you will get from 712, which used to be the earlier temperature, from this to the this kind of high temperature 1825 or 2027 in the chiller water temperature? Because how you are able to raise that temperature in the chiller, or how you are able to raise the temperature of the DX unit on the return air side from those 22 to 24 which we discussed in the previous slide to up to 35, 37 or 38 degree return air, is because when you are maintaining the cold air temperature as much higher temperature, even if your server delta is 12 degree or 10 degree, your return air temperature become much higher. Let us take example. Here, suppose in your server room, in your cold aisle, which is the face of the server, you are able to actually suppose you are maintaining 24 degrees centigrade, which obviously falls between the ASHRAE recommended envelope here. Then, and your server supply to the exhaust delta is suppose 12 degrees centigrade. So 24 is the cold air temperature, 12 is the delta, it becomes 36 degrees centigrade. So 24 plus 12 will be 36 degree centigrade return air temperature. So 36 degree return air temperature coming to the cooling unit. Imagine this cooling unit, which earlier used to operate at 24, will operate now at 36, will deliver much higher capacity, same 10 TR capacity. Suppose I am taking example of again 10 TR for our easy understanding. if 10 TR was at 24 degree return air and 35 degree ambient, for example, the same 10 TR machine, now if you operate at 36 degree return air, it may deliver around 14 ton kind of a capacity. So there is a huge difference, you know, coming in terms of the same unit. So the installed capacity, installed number of units comes down, the efficiency improves, the power consumption reduces drastically, the kilowatt per TR ratio comes down drastically. So this overall makes a huge difference from this 2011 guidelines. So it's very important to understand that most of the users still are not familiar that in front of the electronics electrical room you can easily maintain 18 to 27 temperature in the front of the equipment, and then the discharge temperature is actually the return air which is coming back in the hot aisle. So we should not be bothered about what is happening on the hot side of the servers or the switch or the panel. So, and then you can see on the right side of the slide there are various different type of, you know, the servers available, A1, A2, A3, A4 kind of a kind of category of servers which are available, and these servers have different recommended and the maximum limit envelope which are actually allowable envelope. So allowable envelope range is different than what ASHRAE recommends. ASHRAE recommends 18 to 27. You see the servers A1 class 35 to 32, but do you go for 35 to 32? The minimum and the maximum limit? Really not. We are not even going this limit, which is recommended by ASHRAE. Forget this limit. If you go to this limit, imagine the kind of savings going in. So that's why I'm spending time on this slide. Is very important to understand. So this makes change. This made change in the industry. This made change the way the manufacturers like you know Vertiv or many other suppliers, they started thinking over that the cooling systems which, or maybe Stools or maybe anyone in the market, Schneider or anyone, you know, the people started using that you know they must use a system which should be able to deliver higher suppliers and higher return air, and at the same time the concepts like aisle containments, like hot aisle or cold aisle containments kind of philosophies started coming in the market. What happened when these kind of philosophies came in? Due to this, obviously the trend of variable capacity had already started, which is now almost at peak, going towards that. Chilled water temperature went much higher than what it was before, and the data center size were no more like, you know, the kilowatts. It became in megawatts. People started talking megawatt, much larger data center for precision cooling. And then the capacities and the efficiencies achieved from the same cooling units were much higher. And in 2015 to 18, there was a big revolution which happened actually in the industry in terms of the temperature. In India itself, we designed many data centers which actually had the water temperature going up to 2027. We designed many data centers with chilled water temperature 2027. So imagine from 712, which used to be in 2005, 7, 8. Imagine that kind of 2007, 8 year to that now in 2018, or even now you are going around 2027 or 2032 kind of water temperature in the chiller. So imagine the savings. Every degree centigrade 2.5 to 3%. Imagine what kind of savings you are getting. And this is not just coming from the saving because of the compressor utilization. It is actually coming from also the additional savings are coming from adiabatic and evaporation. How this adiabatic and evaporation is able to function there? Because when you have moved in the previous slide, when you have moved in the envelope from 2025 to 1827 in the cold aisle, now imagine across India or many part of the world where the ambient temperature is low, your data center, you can always, you know, have air to air kind of a heat exchanger which will allow the outside air to cool inside data center air and still maintain your data center temperature. So this evaporative kind of a air to air or even direct free cooling approach in some cases where the environment allowed that were used actually to save a lot of energy on the compressor. So compressors were that another thought which came is reduce the hours of the compressor or minimize the hours of the compressor or switch off the compressor. When a designer thinks from this point of view, I don't want to allow the compressor to work. So what are the techniques I will use? Then your thought process will start that you will have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 techniques where you can use and reduce the hours of the compressors for that. And this allow because when your cold air temperature has gone up and your return air temperature of the hot air has gone up from 24 degree to 38, 37 or 35 degree, then imagine that kind of a hot air will always allow you to use high water temperature and still deliver you good temperature 24, 25, 26 degree in the cold air. So this is very important to understand, and this is where the shift happened actually. Then addition to this, here I'm touching here one more point. I'm not going into detail of adiabatic new approaches, air to air heat exchanger, evaporator cooling methods, the adiabatic free cooling chillers, and these are all together different topics to talk. Maybe we'll require 1 to 2 hours discussion on that. Maybe we can see sometimes maybe later on this, maybe some other day if this kind of session is arranged. But this is a big topic to talk about. Now moving to what is something driving the precision AC towards the more efficiency, the PUE factor. The PUE factor in precision AC industry in data center, the people talk about the power usage effectiveness. The efficiency of the data center is not measured just like an engine, you say that it is a 60% efficient or 70% efficient. It's nothing like that. You have got so many services running in the data center. You have your IT equipments, you have lighting, you have transformers, UPS, you have cooling units, air distribution, and lot many things running in the data center. Put together, what is the efficiency of data center? So that is known as the PUE, power usage effectiveness, means total facility power. When you add the power of all these components together, then divide that power with the IT equipment power, which means that when this IT equipment power will increase, your PUE factor will come down, and the lower the PUE, better is the data center energy efficiency. PUE is the reverse of data center energy efficiency. So the focus is basically that reduce this portion, increase this portion. So how you will reduce this portion? You can see here that air movement and the cooling mechanical is using the maximum power here. The maximum power is consumed here, not here actually compared to the overall. Also obviously you have got scope here. Also you can use LED, you can use many different type of approach, different lux labels and use this and different techniques. But then again here actually there you can reduce the losses on the UPS transformer, but actually the major chunk is here on the cooling side, and we are all the experts in the market, and this is the major concern for the entire whole world today in the data center. This is the concern, that how do you reduce the mechanical energy efficiency, and this is what is actually making the overall difference on the PUE for the data center. So on the right side you can see that why this is important. Your cost of the electricity, cost of the real estate, both is going up. It is not coming down at all. And the server cost is not much changing. So this change in the real estate, change in the electricity cost is driving the efficiency factors in the precision AC, that precision AC must consume much and much lower power, and our focus should be here to have PUE levels. Just to give you idea about, the traditional data centers are typically around 1.7 to 2 PUE levels, which means 2 PUE levels means 50% of the, suppose you are giving 100 kilowatt power to the data center, if it's a small data center, and 50 kilowatt is going to the IT equipment, 50 is consumed by the other services which are supporting that data center. Okay, so that is what is called as PUE2 here. 150, 50 plus is 100 together. So imagine that now, imagine that you are reducing this factor. So this IT power will start going up and it will start reducing. The PUE factors typically are around 1.7 to 2, but all the new data centers which have been designed in last 2 to 3 years, especially the bigger data center, they have been designed around the PUE level of 1.4 to 1.6. And there are few data centers in India which are existing now, which are designed at around 1.3 PUE. Some 1 or 2 data centers are being talked about 1.25 to 1.28 PUE. Like in Bangalore, Infosys, one of them is that 1.25 to 1.28. And I see Reliance also talking around 1.28 to 1.3 PUE level, some data center. Otherwise, and some data center, what you also have designed 1.35, 1.4 PUE. And there are many data centers around in the industry which are around 1.4 to 1.5 to 1.6. So 1.4 to 1.6, there are many new data center now in last 3-4 years. And the new data center which are being designed now in 2020, they are all focusing below 1.5. Nobody is talking about that typically. All are talking between 1.25 to 1.5. Obviously, the PUE will play a role on the ambient also, because the ambient play major role. Outside India, you can have a data center with 1.1 PUE because your ambient is so low. But in India, it's very difficult to achieve those kind of PUE levels. Okay. So what is driving this is, we learned in the previous slide. We are approaching now to the last 1 or 2 slides now. So what is driving it is the ecosystem in the data center. The last few years, the way the data center has evolved around, the Precision AC has also evolved around the same way. And if you are not changing the equipments, how will you support the IT infrastructure? How will you support the new demand in the data center ecosystem? And obviously, this is being driven through ASHRAE, because they are making the guideline changes in increase the operating temperature, has also made a lot of changes on the equipment side. Suppose imagine a DX unit. If you install a traditional DX unit, it will not work for high return air temperature, which means that any manufacturer have to change the cooling DX unit if he is installing with cold aisle containment or hot aisle containment. If you are maintaining 24 in the cold aisle and your delta T is 12 degree from the supplier to the server to the return side, you are likely to have actually 36 degrees centigrade return air. Your normal system will not work at all. So your cooling unit must be designed according to the ASHRAE new envelope, and this is also important to have. And in fact, I'm just a little bit highlighting because I'm now on the last slide almost. There is a lot of focus now in India. India is making new guidelines for our Indian data center, which is actually designed by CII, IGBC, and with LBNL is a organization from US. With the help of them, and they had also guided India industry for HBAC ECBC codes before, and now this IGBC and CII together with LBNL is designing data center guidelines in India. And I'm pleased to inform that actually I'm data center chair for this for the data center cooling group, where we are designing what should be the ER of the DX and chill water unit, what should be the fan efficiency, motor efficiency, what should be the temperature, humidity control, how the temperature rise from the cooling unit to the data center, to the in front of the server rack, and monitoring and all those things. And then there is a chiller plant in category. In that there are various type of chillers guidelines being framed. Mr. Lohia from Reliance is there. And then electrical systems is there from Pritham from Microsoft is there, and Dell for IT hardware and software. There is a guy from Dell, engineering head. He is a chair for the IT hardware and software. What kind of a server should be utilized? So this is the roadmap for the better PUE. There are a lot of change happening in Precision AC from a typical system going towards evaporative, adiabatic, high chilled water, high DX return temperature, and different type of building type, multi-story building for and warehouse type of data center coming. And I'm on the last slide now. The key message here is that obviously there is a difference there. These are two different application: cooling humans, comfort, and cooling electronics or machines is different. So the cooling systems should be also designed differently. And the ROI for Precision AC is much attractive. We must adopt these kind of cooling approaches for wherever we have to cool machines. And then Precision ACs are not limited to just data center. These are limited to all applications like VFD, control rooms, panel rooms, and many more applications which we discussed before. And obviously, no, single solution doesn't fit to every site. We must understand that what is the load, what is the type of the equipment used, then decide what should be the type of the supply, what air discharge, what should be the type of the return air suction, what kind of a system to be used, how the airflow pattern to be, and what is the ambient, and all those things will play a role, and what is the overall layout to keep the racks and the other electrical panels or anything, whatever is involved on the application side. So this will the solution will accordingly change. The variable capacity should be used as a trend. Obviously, this helps to improve the power consumption, and the PUE is driving a lot of change there, and this is also helping the industry to save a lot of power. So with this, because we have limited time, I'm ending the presentation here. I again thank you all for your patience hearing, and thank you very much, and all questions are welcome now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Raghuveer. It was really, I believe, a lot of knowledge sharing. I remember when I was working with Precision Air Conditioning, and just a small anecdote, I was part of this. I was part of this, team who was putting up Precision Air Conditioning in Reserve Bank Note Pudran in Salvani. So,
okay.
yeah, so I was in that company, and it was such a great feeling to drive money, you know. पैसे को ठंडा कर
So,
रहा
you know,
है.
again, refreshing feeling, refreshing feeling after
Yeah,
a long time.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So we were cooling money actually,
It's amazing.
literally. And
Yeah,
data center has got a lot
Correct,
of
correct.
applications, lot of applications. It is a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
niche
Yes,
industry, I
yes.
believe, because we are still,
Yeah.
our mindset is still that data center is only the application which can have precision ACs, but it is not.
Yeah. That's why, you know, we were trying to focus around that there is something else also where this can be used.
Exactly. So I'll come to the questions now, sir. I believe for the very
Yeah.
good presentation, a lot of people have understood. I request all the participants to have a view of the screen. The email ID and the number is mentioned of the speaker. So if there is any queries later, you can connect with him over the telephone or over email and clear your doubts. And secondly, one more thing I would like to ask you, Mr. Raghu, just to anecdote to share. You could change this logo because our Easter logo has changed. It's no more this logo.
Okay.
Yes,
Actually, I somehow. Okay. Will thank you.
Is it possible to share this presentation to the participant? Is it okay, or is it like something very cumbersome, or like not possible?
We'll see it again and we'll try to share most of it actually.
Okay, I understand. There is could be some some activities or some details which are very confidential in nature. I understand.
I think there are Sumajit, there are few questions. I think on the question.
I'm coming to the questions.
I think these are not big, just very small. Maybe I can touch in 1 or 2 minutes actually. Like I can see there is a question whether there is only a like air cooled condenser. There are in precision AC there is a water cooled and air cooled condenser, both are available. And also there is a question related to whether these are only DX type. No, there are chilled water type also precision air handling units available, and these precision air handling units can be connected to a chiller. And these precision air handling units are little different than the AHU units because these are again designed for high sensible cooling and more airflow per TR. But this is not just limited to these two factors. Other than this is one enclosure which has electrical panel, your valves, your everything built inside the unit. So very neat and clean site you can have, where in air you will have a separate valve section, your panel section, electrical section, so many things separately you will do. But in precision AHU, which are called PAHU units, precision air handling units, will have all these things integrated in the unit. So this is also available. The another question was closed loop cooling with constant internal load. Yes, that is in data center, that is also possible. Yes, that is also possible. External ambient can be used or not. External ambient directly can be used only in a very few locations where the outside ambient is really clean in terms of the, like we need to check the properties of the air in terms of its sulfur, chlorine and many other gases. And then we can decide to use it. And then the inside application must support that. So in most of the data center across India, which we have seen, in most of the data center, outside air is not used. The indirect cooling is used, which is called as having a two coils and one coil connected to a cooling tower, one connected to the chiller, and then the first coil actually pre-cools the hot air which is coming to the room. So these kind of approaches are being used. Till now, the direct air is used only in one of the data center in Bangalore. They have used pre-filters up to NERV 13, and they have used this one of the location only across India, which I find in bigger data center. So only these are the few questions which I could see quickly. And evaporative and adiabatic you wanted to explain will really take a big, a lot of time. Maybe I can just briefly say that the condenser side, we can, there are condensers available in the market which can be given with the adiabatic kits, and there are chiller available which can be given with adiabatic pads there, and there are units for large data center which are used with the operative air-to-air heat exchange, and those units are available. Those units are also available in the market. Double coil can operate in PAHU. Yes, double coil can operate. Possible percentage ratio on load. Yes, based on the load it can use. We can decide there are various load logics available in the double coil units. Yeah. So if the comfort ACs are not designed, the question is that comfort ACs are not designed for 24 hours. So then in such cases, you should use precision air conditioning systems wherever possible. The humidification and dehumidification principle are achieved, yes, because they are built in inside the system. So based on the return air temperature, when the return air temperature humidity sensor, which measures the room temperature and the humidity status, based on that status, it decides the built-in humidification, whether to run the humidification. Humidifier are again multiple types, which are having electrode based or infrared based. Infrared based are recommended because they do not have scaling formation issues. Electrode can have scaling formation issues because if water quality is not good. So there is a the valve available. So when the flow switch, so based on the whenever humidification is required, the valve is opened and water flow to the humidification pan, and then the humidification starts, and then through the humidification, the steam is being added to the room. So humidification is being added to the room, and when dehumidification is required, there is a capacity compressor. Compressor is operating, and the fan speed of the evaporator is used to achieve the dehumidification. So that's how the humidification and dehumidification are used. So these are the few questions which I could see.
Yeah. So I think you have completed all the questions, I believe.
I think yes, there may be few left, so I think we can maybe, if there are any question, email us there. So maybe if someone can, can write and we can reply.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Mr. Raghuveer. It was a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. It's my pleasure. Thanks all the people, and take care. COVID-19 is really, take care, you and your family. Just
before we close, just there's one last question from Mr. Binay there. I believe he's really looking for that answer. Is it economical for hotel server room to use precision ACs? There's a question.
Okay, for the hotel server room may be very small. So for such rooms, there are small cooling units available, which are like 1.2 TR capacity or 0.5 TR capacity and 1.2 TR capacity. Sorry, 2 TR, 3 TR kind of capacity. So for such a small room, you may not need because depending on the criticality of the room, you may decide to use whether you want humidity or temperature, humidity control also. You may temperature control may be okay for such small rooms. So there are equipment available with high efficient equipments available in smaller capacity for such small rooms. And in fact, in 2 TR also for such hotels or for hub rooms or small rooms, there are units available which has heater and humidifier also built in, floor mount small units. So equipments are available which for a small server room, for hotels or even for banking branch small applications, there are equipments, there are solutions available. So if any kind of help is required, you can reach out to me.
Thank you, Mr. Raghuveer. It's a pleasure having you. Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Bye.